All right, all council members are present tonight. Is there any additions to the agenda? Doesn't look like it. Is there any declaration of party contact, conflict of interest, bias, etc. by council? Doesn't look like it.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead, Council Ort.
I just want to state that I have had several conversations with different community members about annexations in general and educating the public on how they work and our role in them. I cannot tell you which one specifically because there's been quite a few that we've talked about, so I'm just going to blanket say that I've talked to people about them.
Okay, appreciate that. Anybody else? Okay. We move to public comment, and I'm going to read a statement before public comment. The council will now receive public comment. We value your input and ask that remarks be shared respectfully. The council's role is to listen at this time and may direct staff to follow up as needed. Speakers will be called on one at a time and asked to state their name and city of residence before the 3 minutes for their comment. And I have before me, looks like 2 tonight, and we'll start with Mr. Santani. Damian?
Thank you, Mayor. May I approach the bench and give you guys paper? I forgot to give it over there.
Sure. You have an extra one for them, for staff? Here. All right, sir, go ahead.
I'll try to be brief since you guys have paperwork. This involves the so-called pilot program that deals with different kind of developments that might come into town. Specifically, this has already been applied to the apartments that are at the top end of town, where 3rd Avenue and Fern Ridge, kind of behind the Verizon. So pilot is an acronym, payment in lieu of taxes. So real quick, since you guys can study this after the whole meeting's done, they don't have to get charged their regular assessed base rate like we do for our houses, for example. So I understand they just pay some kind of flat rate for the next few years, and it's nowhere near what it could be when the exemption sunsets. So if you look at page 3, no, sorry. Look at page 5, and if you add their retail value of their building and their land, that's well over $16 million. And then go back to page 4, and all of us, our houses and whatnot, are charged by the county. So this money isn't all going to come to Stayton. This would come to Marion County, and then we get our part. As we know, being property owners, we pay on assessed value, not the real market value. So assuming that their real market value is over 16 mil, let's divide that by 2 and say that their assessed value, since it's not printed, could be about a little over 8 million. So then on page 4, you would divide units of 1,000 into, let's say, 8.2 million, and that gives you an answer that you would multiply by the $16.42. It's $135,000 that they're not paying right now, and they won't pay that until this pilot program sunsets. So This was a good education for me. All this came from the property tax records at the county, so anybody can look this up. So if we ever do make any more apartments, no more pilot programs. Zip. Everybody's got to pay their fair share. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Santoni. All right, Larry Chamberlain, please.
Good evening. My name is Larry Chamberlain. I reside at 1624 East Burnett Street, Stayton 97301 for the last. Can you hear me? Okay. Just for some background, after the last city council meeting, we all had a lot of frustration. I was a little bit more verbal with mine than you guys, but I could see it in your face. And my wife and I decided that we wanted to get a second opinion as to what, if anything, the City of Stayton Council could do regarding all the multifamily developments coming into our city. So on our own, with some guidance from our son Ed, who's a civil engineer, we hired a professional planner to review our situation. The report he gave us did not have a lot of hope in it. The state of Oregon has tied your hands as to what happens in our town and how it happens. The Oregon Housing Needs Analysis is the result of lots of laws passed since 2019. The short story is these laws give the state of Oregon the right to decide how many housing units should be built and what types of housing should be built. We must have buildable land available within our urban growth boundary to accommodate the types of housing the state tells us that we need. Whether we agree with this reality or not, it is what you must govern by today. However, there's one thing you can effect and regain a small amount of control. You can use infrastructure deficiency as a reason to change the zoning that is requested. The deficiency must be documented in our comprehensive plan and in whatever facility plan that is appropriate. For instance, there's an upcoming annexation on Park Lane near our home. Anyone who lives in that area can tell you that the roads were inadequate for the development that's already taken place. You cannot use general statements to decide zoning situations. You need an updated transportation plan that acknowledges the facts and documents these deficiencies in engineering language. Then your decision will be defensible in a LUBA appeal. The same for our stormwater, our sewer plan. All of these plans feed into our comprehensive plan. So all of our planning documents need to be professionally updated. This will be expensive. What will the cost be to the city if you grant a zoning that cannot function? If you grant a high-density zone in an area where the roads fail, then what? Potentially millions. When updating the comprehensive plan, you could also update the types of zoning available. In the case outlined above, the developer really wants to build out cottages, which would be a great addition to our city. But we don't have a zoning designation that applies, that allows the land to be split up in a certain way. The closest thing I can get is high density. There's lots of other classifications available in the cities, such as mixed use, that we could evaluate to see if it's appropriate. Much has happened since our plans were last updated. Updating our plans would be like turning on the lights. To be used in any legal action such as LUBA appeal, I was told the plan would have to be less than 5 years old to be considered current. I'm not sure of the age of ours, but I think it's more than that.
Yep. Thanks, Mr. Chamberlain.
The first thing that comes to mind is where do we get the money? And again, the next question is where do you get the money if you don't fix it? And, you approve something that causes the systems to fail. So I guess I'm appealing to you to consider this, talk about it, while you can still do something about it. And, that's about all I have to contribute. We're in a very sorry fix, but We got to deal with reality. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, that's all the public comments we received for tonight. That moves us on to consent agenda. Consent agenda from May 4th, City Council regular session minutes, and then the OLCC liquor license. New outlet, full on premises commercial application for La Junta Twisteria Jalisco style. What would council like to do? Okay, I'll talk at once.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilor Patty.
move that we accept the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
All right, motion a second to accept the consent agenda as submitted. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. There's no presentations, which leaves us to public hearing. And that is on ordinance number 26-003, annexation and zone change for property on Golf Lane. And with that, I have to read a script before we do this. We will open the public hearing. This is the time and place set for the City Council's public hearing in the matter of land use file number 5-02/24, an application for annexation of a 21-acre parcel of land fronting Golf Lane, proposing a zoning designation of medium density residential and including a concept plan. This hearing is now open. Oregon land use law requires a statement be made to those in attendance that covers certain matters relative to this case. That statement, with all the information required to be presented under ORS 197.763 subset 5, is printed and available on the table at the back of the room. If you have not yet received one of these forms, you should go get one and review it prior to presenting your testimony. If anyone has any questions regarding anything on the statement or objects to it not being read out loud, please raise those questions when it comes to your turn to speak during the hearing. Also at the back counter is the agenda for this evening's meeting, which lays out the order in which people will be called on to speak during the public hearing, and the city's rules of procedure for land use public hearings to facilitate your participation in the public hearing. You are encouraged to obtain and read a copy of these documents as well. At this time, I would ask the audience if there are any objections to the notice that was provided in the case. I hear none. To the jurisdiction of the body to hear and consider this case. I hear none. Are there any declarations of conflict of interest, ex-party contacts, or bias by any members of the council? I hear none. We're now ready for the staff introduction.
So, Mayor, it was pointed out to me, I'm calling a big audible. It was pointed out to me that the notice said 7. So I would ask that you hold the public hearing. We've got some, if we move to staff announcements, that should cover it, if that would be okay. That way, if anybody is coming to be at the meeting by 7 in time for the public testimony, you're still able to do this with them there.
Okay, so you're saying that there's a time difference.
Yes.
Okay, so you're asking me to hold off the meeting until 7.
Yes, or to hold off these public hearings, and
Okay.
we could move to the general business, the grant authority, and communications from staff. We have
Okay.
a little bit to discuss
So,
there.
we will pause the opening of the hearing for a minute, and we're going to move to, you said general business?
Yeah, if you move to agenda item 8A.
Okay. All right.
Sorry about that.
It's okay. All right, we'll move to item general business, grant authority for designated signer for DEQ loan. Is that what we're talking about?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So staff report on that, Mr. Brown?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. This is a resolution to designate a signer for a DEQ loan. We don't have loan paperwork in front of us right now, but this is a necessary step in order to proceed. We are requesting to designate Julia Hajduk, the city manager, to be have the authority to sign a loan. This is related to projects for wastewater. The project is still being developed, It was identified a few years ago, and it has some forgivable portions, so basically it grants up to $2 million per fiscal year. So we'd like to take advantage of that. The rest of the funds would be in this loan. We don't know the interest rate or the amount at this time, but in order to proceed, we would need this grant authority to be given to Julia. And when we do have more information, we'd bring that before you as well. But this is just a step of the process.
Okay, is that it, James?
Yes.
Okay, opportunity for public comment on grant authority for designated signer for the DEQ loan. Doesn't look like there's any. Council discussion.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Sims.
So, do we know what we're proposing for the loan at all, or do we have a?
The total project cost is about $5 million in round numbers. The project is still being developed by the engineers at this time. Why we don't have more specific information is because we're trying to take advantage of the terms that are offered right now. This up to $2 million per fiscal year per project is something that may be available twice to us. So if we can do one this next fiscal year and one the following fiscal year, we could get up to $4 million forgivable. So that's something that we're interested in doing. But this money may not be available in the following year with federal changes. So we just don't have very good specifics right now. But it's possible that the first loan, which would be the design loan, would start relatively soon. It would be a small amount, nowhere near the $5 million, but it would be to design the first part of the project. And so by signing now, you're into the program so that you can get that forgivable portion. So those are the details that I would have at this point.
So, what are we designing?
It's an upgrade to the sewer lines.
So there were 4 projects that we initially were talking to them about that were in the wastewater master plan. There's Jetter's Way, there's the Gardner lift station, and then there's 2 others that aren't coming to my mind. Some of them we've gotten funding for through other entities. So I think if James, if you can review what the projects that we're considering asking for.
So the particular projects here are trunk line upsizing. Basically, I think it's a new sewer line from Evergreen and Ida to Hollister and High Streets.
So, are these loans short term, or I mean, do we have? So we don't have time to talk about them at council, and you just sign for the loans.
We don't have specifics on the loans. I don't know the years or the rate. That will be determined at the loan signing. But this is just kind of one of the requirements. They want to know who's going to sign the loan. They want to make sure the council gives the authority to the right person. So we're just proposing that Julia be the person that will sign the loan. We'll definitely bring you the details when we have them. We don't have them now. At the signing of the loan is when the details will be known.
But we would get the details prior to signing the loan. Is
Absolutely.
that what we're saying? Okay, all right. That's what I was looking for.
Yeah. We're just designating the person authorized by the city to sign the future loan. We're not signing anything yet except a resolution.
Anybody else have questions? All right. What would council like to do then?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilor Orr?
I'd like to move that we adopt the resolution as presented. Resolution number 26-011.
Seconded.
Okay. There's a motion and a second to adopt resolution to give grant authority for a designated signer for the DEQ loan. Is there any further discussion? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 5-0. I have, so these 2 requests are to the hearing or just general recognition?
My guess is they were for public hearing for the annexations.
Okay, Mr. Stratton, do you want to speak to the annexation or do you want to just speak in general terms? Okay, do you want to speak now or do you want to wait to the hearing? Okay,
Should that not be part of the hearing, or?
do you want to speak specifically to the topic of the agenda item tonight for the public hearing for Gulf Lane? Or do you want to do it?
All the zoning, all the annexations that we're doing around the city
Oh,
and all like this. We
so
were
that's
told
public
Yep.
hearing.
for Gulf Lane also.
Sure, that's fine. Go ahead, sir. Just announce your
Okay.
name and your,
Now we can hear.
there you go.
Okay, we were told at the Planning Commission this is something that was mandated by the state, that it had to be done. We didn't have any options. But when we were looking into it, the law states that it's for towns that are 10,000 and above. We're below that. We don't fall under that jurisdiction. So my question is, why are we doing it? We don't have to follow the state mandate here, and we're going to overtax all of our sewer system, which we're trying to upgrade, and our water system. Our streets are not in good condition throughout the town, and they're not brought up. Plus, people's housing prices are being dropped because of the annexations. We have friends who've they can't even sell their home now because of what's going on just across the street from them. And so my question is, why? It's not something that's mandated by the state. We're not under that. We're under 10,000 in our population, so we don't fall under that. We don't have to do it. And doesn't look like it's anything that's good for us. It looks like it's going to put a heavier burden upon us all the way around. And so just my question is, why?
Okay, thank you.
So I'll leave it at that for you, but this is something you'll have to answer. Why are you doing this to all the citizens of the city of Stayton? You know, we don't seem to have a choice in it. We're having to live with what you're making decisions on. Please consider us. You know, we live here with you. We're part of this city. We've been here. We've lived here for 26 years, and we love this town. And we hate to see it get destroyed or brought into a place, you know, in the direction it's going in. So please consider us. I just ask this, please.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Stratton, would you like to speak? About.
I have
Okay.
I only have 4 copies
That's okay.
of a letter that I'd like to go on record.
So, Mayor, just to clarify, if people are speaking to annexations in general, it's appropriate to have as public comments. If it's specific to a annexation, it probably should be.
Correct.
So I don't know what the testimony
Yep.
is, but if it's
So
specific
Judy,
to.
just clarifying question. You're speaking in annexations in general.
All of them.
Okay. Go ahead.
We love Stayton. Okay, I moved here from Orange County, and I grew up there 30 years. And I watched all the orange groves, all the lemon groves, everything get cut down. There's 8 lanes going south, 8 lanes going north on the I-5. Moved here 26 years ago to escape that. There's no end to it. I can promise you there is no end to it. Okay? And what I'm trusting, and I think as a citizen of Stayton, we trust you guys to represent us. And somehow I feel that and I'm going to go ahead and say it, the Planning Commission already had it. I read body language really good. And the Planning Commission seemed to already have it set that that's what they're going to do. They didn't care how anybody objected, came up with really serious questions socially and financially. And even McKinley said, he goes, well, we're going to have to look into some of these issues. And then they took a fast vote, unanimous. Oh, we're going to annex. We're going to annex. We're going to annex. Oh, yeah, we got more to annex. You do not want Stayton, trust me, to change. It's not for the better. What makes us unique is we're not another Salem. And if any of you have driven through Salem lately, we go to church there. My husband's a pastor. And you wouldn't even recognize it. I am just giving you, as somebody who's witnessed this, nothing good will come from this. Thank you.
I'm going to recess for 5 minutes and we'll come back at 7. Here she comes. Okay, we're going to reconvene the public hearing.
Mayor, I think that everybody, I don't think you need to reread the script. I think that everybody who, there's nobody new that's come in that I'm aware of since you read your script, I believe. So I think you're, oh, okay.
So you want me to read the script again?
Just to be on the safe side, sorry.
Okay. All right. This is the commencement of the public hearing for ordinance number 26-003, annexation and zone change for property on Golf Lane. And I have to read the script again. This is the time and place set for the City Council's public hearing in the matter of land use file number 5-02-24, an application for annexation of a 21-acre parcel of land fronting Golf Lane, proposing a zoning designation of medium density, residential, and including a concept plan. The hearing is now open. Oregon land use law requires a statement be made to those in attendance that covers certain matters relative to this case. That statement, with all the information required to be presented under ORS 197.763.5, is printed and available at the table at the back of the room. If you have not yet received one of these forms, you should go get one and review it prior to presenting your testimony. If anyone has any questions regarding anything on the statement or objects to it not being read out loud, please raise those questions when it comes to your turn to speak during the hearing. Also at the back counter is the agenda for this evening's meeting, which lays out the order in which people will be called upon to speak during the public hearing, and the city's rules of procedure for land use public hearings to facilitate your participation in the public hearing. You are encouraged to obtain and read a copy of these documents as well. At this time, I would ask the audience if there are any objections to the notice that was provided in this case. I hear none. To the jurisdiction of this body to hear and consider this case. I hear none. Are there any declarations of conflict of interest, ex-party contact, or bias by any members of the council? I hear none. We are now ready for the staff introduction. Jennifer?
Hello, I'm Jennifer Siciliano, the Community and Economic Development Director for Stayton, for the record. The next item on your agenda is a quasi-judicial public hearing for an application on KSD Properties, LLC, fronting Golf Lane. It's approximately 21 acres, with an application to assign it a medium-density residential zoning. As the city attorney mentioned, at our previous meetings, the hearing at City Council is acting in the role similar to a judge. The council's role too is evaluate whether the application demonstrates the criteria contained in the municipal code. So at this time, I'll turn it over to the applicant for presentation.
Okay. Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Brittany Randall. I'm the owner and principal planner of Brand Land Use. For your record, my office is located at 1720 Liberty Street Southeast in Salem. I am the representative for KSD Properties LLC, the land use consultant. And I should have been able to get on this faster because I've done it a few times in here. So sorry about that wait. I have information to present to you, which will be review for a lot of us in this room, but this is my first opportunity to speak directly to all of you, so I'll go through it for the first time. Our team consists of the applicant, KSD Properties LLC. Jenna of DKS provided a traffic analysis. Levi of North Santiam Paving provided some civil engineering support, and I provided information related to land use. The land use process can be confusing and cumbersome for people to learn about. I have been in this industry for more than 10 years and I'm still learning every day about it. So trying to present information in a really specific way. And so I wanted to talk about what is before council and what is not before council today. So there are really three things that we're examining tonight. So it's the annexation of land that's already inside our urban growth boundary. The second is the application of a zoning designation that is consistent with the existing comprehensive plan. And the third is a determination that the property can be served in the future by urban services. What is not before council tonight is approval of a subdivision. We have provided a conceptual plan that I'll show you later in my presentation, but which can be confusing, but that is not on the table for real in-depth discussion. It's mostly to demonstrate how the property is anticipated to be developed in the future. The final density or housing type is not determined at this meeting. Determination of offsite improvement requirements will be determined through later applications to better exact the project's impact on city infrastructure and requirements for offsite improvement related to mitigating those impacts. And then this does not allow any development to construct on the site without future applications and approvals. The site is 21 acres of land inside Stayton's urban growth boundary and contiguous to the corporate city limits. The site has access to Gulf Lane Southeast, which is a city street. The City of Stayton Comprehensive Plan designates this property as residential. You have 3 designations of zoning underneath residential in your plan: low density, medium density, and high density. On this site, the applicant is seeking medium density residential for a detached single family subdivision in the future. This is the site's relationship with the city limits. We've highlighted corporate city limits in pink. Everything in white is either outside the urban growth boundary or not annexed yet into the city. You can see that collectively the subject property taken with the properties abutting to the south are an enclave, so it's completely surrounded by property that's already been annexed into the city limits. Surrounding zoning, I think, provides better context about why we're seeking medium density residential here. So to the west, the subject property is highlighted with a star here and this little arrow that says subject property. To the west, we have public and semi-public zoning. To the north is property owned by this applicant as well, and that property is designated commercial general. In the development code and the comprehensive plan, medium density residential zoning is often referred to as like a buffer zone. So you would do this sort of stepping of intensity. If you had a medium density zoning property, it would buffer property to the south, which may come in as low density, and then buffer that from the property to the north, which is commercial general. So again, this is a little bit repetitive, so I'll just jump to the part down here that says the applicant's goal is a detached single-family subdivision with a little bit smaller lot sizes than are permitted in your low-density zoning. which I believe is consistent with your council goals and your comprehensive plan goals. We have to evaluate this site based off of the criteria in your code. And these are those criteria: A, B, C, D, E, and F. F doesn't apply. F applies to a contract annexation, and a contract annexation is like if someone had a catastrophic event and their septic went out and they prematurely hook up to city infrastructure. Generally, the city would say, we'll let you hook up prematurely, but when corporate city limits reaches your door, you will annex into the city. This isn't that situation. We have demonstrated pretty comprehensively in our written materials that are in your packet how we meet these criteria, but I will briefly summarize here. For criterion A, the need existing, at your previous council meeting, the HAPO staff came and talked about what they call the ONA, Oregon Housing Needs Analysis, which has saddled every city in the state, essentially, by saying they all need housing. Housing is no longer tied to population growth, so there's a demonstrated need in adopted documents. The property is inside the urban growth boundary and carries a residential designation, so it's always been planned to be residential in nature, exactly what we're planning for. And then the proposed medium density zoning directly implements the city's adopted plans. For criterion B, the site is or is capable of being serviced by adequate public services, including services that may be provided subject to the terms of a contract annexation agreement between the applicant and the city. Some of this criterion applies. Of course, the portion that is to a contract annexation does not apply, but in this case, the determination is whether the property is capable of receiving urban services, not if they're available today. We've done some preliminary engineering review and determined that the site is able to be served. It does show up in the adopted water, sewer, stormwater, and transportation master plans as an area that is planned to be served. Future extensions to the site will be the requirement of the developer at the time of development. Oops. Under C, the proposed annexation is property contiguous to existing city limits. I won't waste any time on that. We know it is. D, the proposed annexation is compatible with the character of the surrounding area and complies with the urban growth program and policies of the city of Stayton. For this one, the proposed zoning creates an appropriate transition between nearby commercial property and Highway 22, and then lower density residential zoning to the south. The zoning we are asking to apply is consistent with the adopted comprehensive plan designation, which puts into effect the city of Stayton's urban growth program and policies as stated in this requirement. So because we're not asking for a comprehensive plan amendment, we're asking for a zoning that already applies to that comprehensive plan designation that is adopted. Criterion D is met. And then finally, criterion E, the annexation request complies with or can be made to comply with all applicable provisions of state and local law. And to this, we would say the application has undergone a rigorous review by staff, the Planning Commission, agency reviewers, and even the state of Oregon through the submitted PAPA, post acknowledgement plan, I'm sorry, I forget what all the acronyms with the state, but your community development director submitted documentation that's required to the state of Oregon. They've reviewed it as well. All of those reviews have determined that this meets the criteria, the comprehensive plan policies, and the state housing requirements. This is the conceptual plan that we provided. It has 74 lots. One area of discrepancy in our application is, I believe, our first crack at the conceptual site plan included 94 lots. So that was what our transportation our transportation analysis was based on, a higher threshold. So our impacts would actually be less than what the transportation study says. And I just want to point that out because it's in the record. And I don't want that to cause any confusion. But previously, we were seeking higher density. The applicant revised and is now seeking medium density residential for 74 single family lots here. None of the lots in the conceptual plan are less than 7,000 square feet. Your low density residential has a minimum lot size of 10,000 square feet, so a bit smaller than what would be required in low density. Again, 92 lots. I'm glad I had that in here. So the TIA was prepared for 92 lots. The current request is for medium density with approximately 74 lots. So 24% reduction from the original modeling that was done. The TIA overestimates future traffic impacts. So that will be refined as an actual proposal comes into the city for consideration. And then in earlier comments, there was some concern about how this project in the future would contribute to city infrastructure improvements. And so I had gone back to the traffic engineer and asked for some data on that, and this is what they provided. So at full build out, the development is expected to contribute an estimated 4 to 5% towards what the city has designated as an $8.2 million project. That's called M7 in the capital improvement projects in your transportation system plan. And this contribution is proportional to what the anticipated impacts would be. So just to wrap it up, the property is located inside the urban growth boundary. It's contiguous to city limits. The proposed zoning is consistent with the comprehensive plan designation. The site can be served through planned infrastructure extensions. Future development will be subject to additional city review and engineering approval. And the application satisfies the annexation approval criteria. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thanks, Brittany. Council have any questions?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilor Ort?
I just had a question. I think I know the answer, but the map that we have in here, the lot sizes, they vary, but some of them are 6,000. Is this the one where I think this one maybe is not the updated?
I think you're looking at the one with 92 lots.
That's okay.
Yes.
That's what I thought. I just wanted to make sure.
Yes.
Okay, anybody else? All right,
Counselor.
thank you. Go ahead, Councilor.
During the traffic evaluation, what time of day and how long do they stay there to evaluate the traffic flow?
Oh, man. I would have to go back. I know that's all documented in the TIA that's included in the record, but I think it's peak hour trips. So they're generally during what's identified as rush hour, taking those kind of measurements.
Thank you.
Anybody else before I move on to staff? Okay.
Mr. Mayor, thank you for your presentation. Looking at Exhibit 3, page 23, there was just some information about the compatibility of the character of the surrounding area. And I was just wondering, some of the conclusions in here, how they were arrived at in general, if you could speak to that.
I don't have in front of me what you have. Is that the staff report that you're talking about?
Yeah. So Exhibit 3, page 23 of our packet, says the proposed annexation is compatible with the character of the surrounding area and complies with the urban growth program and the policies of the city of Stayton. And then it goes into the finding. It talks about the zoned commercial general area to the north, to the east. It's got the annexed parts of the city. I'm just curious, when there's a statement like that, how is that arrived at as far as compatibility goes?
Sure. That's a really good question. I think what you're reading is Jennifer's statement. So what I'll say is how I would arrive at that. And if you want to ask Jennifer her opinion, that would be separate. I don't want to put words in her mouth. But generally what you would look at is it's that that sort of stepping of intensity. So the property that abuts this property to the north is commercial general. So you could expect to see really any variety of uses that are allowed in that zone. So retail, restaurant, that kind of thing. So you would sort of expect a higher density buffer zone to be next to that, to sort of stair step down to what you see to the south. Oh, I'm not connected anymore, but what you would see to the south is low density residential. So you wouldn't anticipate seeing low density residential zoning abutting commercial. You would see something a little bit more intense, so that you're sort of, like I said, stair stepping that intensity down south. Jennifer might have a different opinion.
She answered the question really well. It's, as a planner, that's what you kind of think about. You don't want to have a low density right next to a commercial area or near the highway in particular.
All right. I'm going to go on the staff report unless council has any other questions for the applicant. All right. Thanks, Brittany. Jennifer?
Thank you.
Okay. So this has been a long process, and this is the second annexation application that you've seen for City Council. And we've had workshops with the city attorney and DLCD and HAPO also came. So there's a lot that we've all learned. So the applicant requested annexation together with an assignment of medium density residential. And as she went through our criteria for approval, so I'm here to tell you how staff arrived at their recommendation, and then the city, the Planning Commission also voted for these findings and approval of criteria, and they voted unanimously. So the application materials include a conceptual subdivision plan, as we showed, of 74 residential lots. As Brittany said, no subdivision approval is being requested. So any further subdivision approval in the future will have to have a separate land use review, and that will include looking at infrastructure and transportation and possible realignment of roads if necessary. So the first criteria is demonstrating the community need for the land proposal to be annexed. And we've gone over that a lot. It seems very subjective, but it isn't. In the past, communities such as Stayton decided on their existing need for housing in the comprehensive plan, and they looked at future growth numbers. And in 2003, the state said there's been an underproduction of housing, so not only do you need to plan for future growth, but you also need to plan for what hasn't been built. And you cannot just look at your city, what your city needs, but what the whole region needs. So they split up the state into 7 regions, and we're part of the Willamette Valley region. So we're part of that. Somebody did mention about populations of 10,000. It's actually populations of 2,500. The 10,000, which requirement requires the city to do much more work on housing needs, but we are still required to do the OHNA, as I sent you a whole document about the methodology behind that. So the next criteria is the site capable being of service of adequate city public services, including that may be provided to the subject. Oh, wait a minute. was that subject? Okay. I'll just jump ahead. Okay. The site is capable of being serviced by adjacent city public services, including, yeah. So it needs to be adequately served. And I think if you remember, we talked about this in our workshop with Ross, the city attorney, that if it's possible, doesn't mean it's probable, or it's possible, and it is also in our master plans. So the realignment of Golf Lane is in our master plan. There are transportation enhancements, there's stormwater, there's wastewater. That plan has the assumption that the anything within the urban growth boundary, including that parcel, will be developed. So we learned about that. Let's see. I wanted to acknowledge that we did have a public hearing for the Planning Commission back in November 24, 2025 for this application. It came before the City Council, and on the day of the City Council, DLCD said that we needed to have a PAPA notice, which is what Brittany had mentioned, which was a post-acknowledgement, where is it? Post-acknowledgement plan amendment. Thank you. So they said it needs to be heard again by the Planning Commission. So it went back to Planning Commission on February 23rd, 2026. And then that day, DLCD provided their comments. So it was scheduled to be heard again, and we tabled it again until April 27th, 2026. So I was able to incorporate the DLCD comments. Originally, I did recommend low density because I was basing it on what the comprehensive plan said, but now I've learned that we need to include underproduced housing and housing for the region. That's where that came from. The staff finds all those criteria. It meets all criteria, and the proposed medium density is consistent with the residential comprehensive plan. We don't have a two-map system. We have to say it does align. It says residential. And I believe that it does fit the character. I think that the proposed annexation to me fits the character of the surrounding area. As I said, it abuts commercial development. So I'll leave it at that. If anyone has any questions, let me know. I feel like we've talked about all of these ideas before.
Okay. Questions from council?
Yep. Just kind of a follow-up from my initial one. Is compatibility and how you determine that defined in our state municipal code?
Compatibility is not defined. It is not defined in our municipal code. And I don't know if you remember, but the HAPO people that were here talked about that. They were making the claim, one of their claims is that housing is housing, so medium next to high density next to low density. It's all residential. But I do believe that it matters what's next to the property.
Yep. The reason I'm asking that is I'm wondering if this needs to be further fleshed out in code. And so maybe that's a conversation for another time. But I feel like we keep running against that. And I think that we should define it a little bit more.
Okay, council? Council Hort?
Mr. Mayor. Jennifer, maybe this might be a question for Barry, but I'm gonna ask you. Okay, so we've talked about how the comprehensive plan takes into account infrastructure needs that are within our UGB, correct? But if we say that in the comprehensive plan, these are our needs, and we've already met our needs, and then we are annexing in land at higher densities, that's not taking into consideration, like the plan did not take into consideration that level of like stress on the system. So how do we accommodate for that? And in my mind, there's criteria that isn't met because of infrastructure needs.
I hear what you're saying. Comprehensive plans are also attached to master plans. So the master plan of transportation and wastewater, etc. And we do update those more recently than the comprehensive plan. At least we have. So the transportation plan was done in 2019. So it's a little out of date. They try to do it every 5 years. But in that, they did plan for future increases. So it does have, for instance, the Golf Lane realignment. So I would say that it does plan for growth. Yeah.
Can I ask a follow-up to that? So in that, like I guess I would be a little concerned with that many houses coming off of one street, like with only one exit onto an already busy street. How do we, it comes off onto a busy street, and there's already an apartment complex. We can't do our roundabout, so that intersection just gets jammed up even more further up the road. I still argue that the infrastructure there needs to be fleshed out.
I think
Like what happens in an emergency, like an evacuation with the fires, like how I it's just a little concerning to me.
Mr. Mayor,
Counselor.
I have a question, Jennifer, in regards to the Golf Lane collector to Whitney. I saw no plan for that.
What was that? I'm sorry.
The Golf Lane collector,
Yes.
okay, which I believe is the bypass to go into Whitney on Cascade Highway. I saw nothing, unless someone wants to point it out through all this, of any plan for it, for traffic and traffic safety coming off of Golf Lane.
Okay. Yeah.
Because right now we're at, you go in and you come out, very sketchy. And I'm just not seeing it in this plan.
So it's not a application for development. It's an application for annexation. And when they did provide the concept plan, that is why they went from low density to, they actually came in with, I believe, high density. You came in with high density originally, and they made it medium density. They made it less dense. Because they provided that concept plan, I said that it had to follow zoning codes, and that's why they submitted a transportation study to make sure that it didn't trigger the realignment of the Golf Lane, or if it did, that we knew about it. According to their traffic study and our consultant traffic engineer, they both agreed that it did not trigger that, but it doesn't mean that further development wouldn't. But those are all things as we mentioned, are more at the development phase. But if it needs to be done, then it will be, that will be part of the conditions for approval for any subdivision or land development.
Okay, council, anybody else? Okay. It's an opportunity for public testimony again. And Aaron, are you going to speak to this? Is it specifically to this hearing? Yes? Okay, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Aaron Frichtel. I live at 12326 Golf Lane Southeast. I don't know exactly where to start. It seems as though we're talking about the character of property here, and we're talking about something that was farmland. So this entire property was farmland, and it was split into a couple pieces. A previous owner of the northern property decided that they wanted to make a car dealership there. I participated in that process, and then suddenly that owner was no longer the owner, and it changed to something else, which I don't know what the plan is right now. It seems as though there's like a circular thing of talking about the character of a property. The character of the property is actually my property next door, which is 8 acres. It's not small little lots, 6,000 square foot lots. And I know it's a very common technique to come in and ask for high density and then drop down to medium density or even go down to low density after the fatigue of all the hearings and everything else. They just want to kind of clear the docket. But it's a very common thing to ask for more and then concede, oh, we'll bring it down, and then everybody's happy. I don't like that technique. I'm not a fan of that. Obviously, I'm a property owner that is going to see a significant impact to my land use, my land property, what I can go up and down the road with any type of sense of safety. The property that we're talking about was farmland. When it was to be sold for any type of development, there was a plan and an agreement that Whitney Road was supposed to be aligned with Whitney Road, and there was not supposed to be any question about that. I don't know why it wasn't done right in the first place. I wasn't part of that process. I was going to school, and my parents had to endure, 2 acres of their property being taken by a frontage road. But the whole idea is that there's nothing there right now. I don't know what's going to happen there now, but it seems that it's just getting worse and worse and worse. And there's no tying this development to any type of safety that we're talking about. We talk about two traffic plans. I have yet to see where that makes any sense whatsoever. I heard a number of 6% increase in travel or of traffic on that road. There's no way that 14 current owners on that property, on that road, equate to 74, is it 74 more lots? That's a 6% increase. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And I challenge you to get out your notepads or figure it out on your phone, but that doesn't equate to 6%. I don't know where they got those numbers. It doesn't make any sense. I am very concerned. I have not had a near head-on collision since the planning meeting, but before that I'd had 2. This happens on a regular basis with me and my neighbors currently. We're talking about an exponential increase in traffic on that road, whether it's delivery vans, utility vehicles, property owners, any number of different traffic. We already have Les Schwab taking their test runs on that road at 55 miles an hour. I don't see how this is getting a better situation. And I know that in talking with my parents before they both died, there was no talk of this collector road that was supposed to connect this property with the golf club road property. And that was figured out and talked about without any of their input. And I'm completely opposed to any type of major arterial road that goes through there. And I know that's not part of this hearing, but it is all connected. Every single bit of this is connected. And all of these developments are interlinked, and they're all happening at one time for a reason. And so I'm getting a little hot under the collar thinking about this, but just because you ask for something big and then concede to something less doesn't mean that it's a good thing.
Okay.
It's not a good scenario.
Okay. Thanks, Aaron.
Thank you.
All right. Any questions from council? Applicant summary? I was asking if there's any other questions from council. Go ahead. Sorry, one second. Go ahead. So after the public testimony, there was another opportunity for questions from council. So go ahead, Councilor Ort.
I do have a couple questions actually to a couple points that were just made. The 6% increase in traffic, is that just on that road?
That was one of the things I wanted to address. So in my presentation, I had talked about a percentage of cost that would be contributed to a capital improvement project that's been identified in the transportation system plan, but I didn't state any percentage of traffic increase. I did provide a traffic study that's in the packet, but I didn't prepare that study, so I didn't speak to it directly. Other than I did request that our traffic engineer help us understand how this project in the future would contribute to that capital improvement project. So that was the only percentage that I had tied to this. I wasn't stating that there would be a 6% traffic increase.
Okay.
It was that we would provide, this project could provide 6% of the, and I think it was actually less. Actually, I'm gonna pull it up so that we're not guessing. So 4 to 5% towards the 8.2 million. That was the statement that I had made previously, which might come back up on the
capital improvement
slide here. So I wasn't intending to make this statement that this was the amount of traffic.
Okay, I got you. Thank you.
If I could,
The capital improvement project was the realignment of Whitney. That's the project that she was referring to.
But that's not going to happen?
It's in the TSP, and at some point it may happen. It's not happening as part of this annexation. Whether or not it happens as part of development is yet to be determined because it hasn't been reviewed at that level yet.
Okay, so not right now, but did your traffic study did not trip that though, that realignment need?
So there was coordination between our traffic engineer, Marion County, and the city. And based on the 74 lots, it's not triggered. Either is the golf lane realignment. However, again, this isn't for development. So at that time, there will be a more in-depth study done as to how this project will impact the infrastructure.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else, council? All right, you want to give a summary?
Yeah. I wanted to talk about us initially coming in with the high density. So, Counselor, you were referring to the original site plan that we provided, which you can see is we had laid out a single family subdivision with smaller lots. And it was sort of like a brain fart on our point. Jennifer had identified that we aren't actually allowed to do single family detached homes in the high density zone. As you can see by the initial plan that we submitted, that was the plan, was detached homes. But we needed to drop down to medium density. My client is not interested in building apartments or townhomes, and those would have been the only options in the high density for them. And they're interested in detached single family dwellings. So that was the reason for the shift. It wasn't to, pull the wool over anyone's eyes or do a bait and switch by any means. We were always seeking single family detached dwellings, which is why you have that secondary 92 lot subdivision in the record. Other than that, I appreciated Jennifer's summary and filling in the gaps where I had missed. The one thing I would say is there is an ORS that talks about applications being denied based on infrastructure capacity issues. And if that is a continual thing that happens in a city, then the state will come in and put the city on a moratorium and basically like force these certain steps to happen. And I just don't think that we're there in Stayton. I think that what happens is at the time of development, we exact what the impact will be. Unfortunately, if we're seeing current impacts, you can't retroactively assign existing deficiencies to a new development. It has to be proportional to what that development will do to the system. But the other thing I would say is I think you all are seeing all of this annexation happen because people were land banking in Stayton and we had a sewer issue. So now that that's being resolved, I think you're seeing all of these developments that would have been coming incrementally over time coming at once. So I just wanted to provide that and then offer to answer any other questions that you have.
Go ahead, Councilor.
Can you repeat that, what you said about we had a sewer issue?
I'm sorry, about what?
You said that, why did you say that you thought we were seeing them all at one time?
Because you're fixing your sewer capacity issue. So because you're doing that big upgrade to the sewer, before project properties couldn't be served. So now that you all are fixing a capacity issue, I think you're seeing a whole bunch of properties that were land banked waiting for that to be resolved. And now that it's planned to be resolved, I think in 27, you're seeing people plan for future development and growth again.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else? All right, thanks, Brittany. Staff summary, Jennifer.
Yes. So I guess I just want to say that it's not that I'm for or against the applications. I feel like sometimes I get that from the general public. I'm really trying to guide the Planning Commission and the City Council in what the laws are, that we abide by state law and what is in our code. So to summarize, I believe that it does fulfill the approval criteria for annexation. I'll leave it at that.
Okay, Jennifer, I have a generic question. Can annexation be paused because our comp plan is obsolete?
Julia might know more than I, but I did look into moratorium a little bit, and it really is a very limited time for, yeah.
And I believe, I don't have it with me, but I believe that there was case law that Ross shared with us that was actually from the city of Stayton years ago, where we actually proposed to not approve things because of our comp plans or master plans, and we actually lost on that. So I don't think that is grounds for not annexing.
I appreciate that, and I remember asking Ross that question, but I'm going to continue to ask that question because of the nature of what we have before us. So thank you. All right, with that, I'm going to close the hearing and move to council deliberation.
This is just Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Patty.
Yeah, this is just a thought from me. I feel like here we are once again. All these things need to be addressed. I mean, kind of just looking at some of the case law before Luba, as far as like cases with Woodburn and like Jefferson. I mean, if we look at this as like a compatibility problem, and we deny it, we could get overturned for a multitude of reasons. If we look at this as deficiencies in our infrastructure, we don't have the master plans to substantiate that information. And as we can all probably attest to some experiences with our infrastructure, it really needs to be in those plans for us to rely upon that for any kind of denial. And so I'm just kind of sort of processing this out loud for everybody in the audience, because I'm not sure if everybody's aware of the constraints we're under for this. I want to share my frustration though, and this is just, I feel as a local governing official, I feel like my hands are completely tied on these decisions, and it is so frustrating. So I just want to voice that out loud.
Record's closed. Sorry. Go ahead. Anybody else?
Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Sims.
Yeah, I will add to Councilor Patty what he says. It's very frustrating to see these annexations, and knowing our hands are tied a lot of times once they meet the requirements that we have to abide by, and I think the state has taken away a lot of our decision-making process on the annexation process. So it is very frustrating for myself also. Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Sims.
I move to approve ordinance 26-003, approving the application of KSD Properties LLC for annexation. Land use file number 5-02/24 is presented by staff.
I second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second to approve the application for ordinance number 26-003 as presented. Any further discussion?
Yes.
Councilor Patty.
Yes, Julia, just a point of clarification, housekeeping here. Just, this is ordinance 26-003, not 004, right?
Correct. That's why.
Okay, verification.
That's why I paused for a minute.
Okay.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Mr. Mayor.
Council Ort.
I still contend that we have infrastructure issues that, we have land inside the city that can't be built on because we have water line issues. So I still contend that we have infrastructure issues that have still not been addressed, and I would be voting no.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilor Hayes.
I contend with her on that we still have infrastructure and the extreme importance that the traffic and safety needs to be a part of this. And I don't believe there's a good enough plan for it.
Okay. Anybody else? Melanie, can you pull the council, please?
Councilor Sims? Yes. Councilor Carey? Yes. Councilor Patty?
Yes.
Councilor Ort?
No.
Councilor Hayes?
No.
Motion carries 3-2.
Okay.
So, and just as a reminder, because this didn't pass unanimously, this was the first reading, and you'll hear it again in 2 weeks.
The council's action may be appealed within 21 days of the mailing of the notice of decision to Land Use Board of Appeals under ORS 197.805-855. And that moves on to the next item on the agenda, which is ordinance number 26-004, annexation and zone change for property on Shaft Road. And before we start that, I got to read the statement again. This is the time and place set for the City Council's public hearing in the matter of land use file 10-8/25 An application for annexation of approximately 17-acre parcel of land fronting Shaft Road, proposing a zoning designation of high-density residential. This hearing is now open. Oregon land use law requires a statement be made to those in attendance that covers certain matters relative to this case. That statement with all the information required to be presented under ORS 197.7635 is printed and available at the table at the back of the room. If you have not yet received one of those forms, you should go get one and review it prior to presenting your testimony. If anyone has any questions regarding anything on the statement or objects to it not being read out loud, please raise those questions when it comes to your turn to speak during the hearing. Also at the back counter is the agenda for this evening's meeting, which lays out the order in which people will be called on to speak during the public hearing, and the city's rules of procedure for land use public hearings to facilitate your participation in the public hearing. You are encouraged to obtain and read a copy of these documents as well. At this time, I would ask the audience if there are any objections to the notice that was provided in this case. I hear none.
Just one question on this.
Are you objecting?
When we reach 10,000, what happens?
Okay.
Jobs aren't needed because you'll be told what to
Okay.
do. You don't get to
Let me finish reading this. Okay. To the jurisdiction of the body to hear and consider this case. I hear none. Are there any declarations of conflict of interest, ex parte contact, or bias by any members of the council? I hear none. You're now ready for the staff introduction. Jennifer.
Thank you. We have a application for annexation for Kevin and Paige Butler for an annexation approximately 17 acres on Shaft Road. The applicant did not provide a concept plan, but they did ask for high-density residential zoning. I'll turn it over for the applicant to talk about it more.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Brittany Randall. I am the owner and principal planner of Brand Land Use. I'm representing the Butler family in the annexation of their property. And I will, for your record, my office is located at 1720 Liberty Street, Southeast in Salem. Again, this is review for a lot of us in the room, but my first time presenting to you. This one is a shorter presentation than my previous one, and I want to leave ample time for questions. The project team is Kevin and Paige Butler, who live adjacent to this property. Civil engineering was provided by Josh of West Tech Engineering, and I provided land use consulting services. The subject site is 17 acres of land inside Stayton's urban growth boundary and contiguous to Stayton's corporate city limits. It's actually the very end of the urban growth boundary to the east. To the west. Thank you. The site has access to Shaft Road Southeast. The City of Stayton Comprehensive Plan designates this property as residential. The proposed high-density residential zone matches that comprehensive plan designation. This is the site's relationship with the city limits. City limits are identified in pink. And then all the way to the west or the left of the screen is the property. It's adjacent to other high-density residential zoning, industrial zoning, commercial zoning, all surrounded. Again, these are the approval criteria. The approval criteria have been met in this case. We provided a detailed written narrative that's included in your packet. One of the items I wanted to share with you for why we're seeking high-density residential zoning for this property is in this area, if we were just to continue the sewer connection, it would actually daylight. So it's too shallow, and what we'll need to do is either build a pump station or bring about 6 inches of fill across this entire site in order to develop it. The site being developed entirely with multifamily, but they have expressed that perhaps multifamily would be appropriate abutting the existing multifamily to the east. But generally, they are mainly interested in a townhome development as they live adjacent to this property as well. This is a 17-acre site, so a townhome development would probably be built out over 8 to 10 years in phases. It's consistent with the applicable zoning is consistent with the area, the character of the area, the zoning character of the area. Again, we have high density zoning to the east, along with 2 different commercial zones, and then industrial zoning to the south. Moving this application ahead with the high density zoning aligns with the city's housing policies codified in the comprehensive plan. Specifically, it would provide an alternative housing type, which is something that's outlined in comprehensive plan goals many times. The applicable approval criteria have been demonstrated as met in both the applicant's materials and the city's staff report. And the Planning Commission has also recommended approval in this case. And I can answer any questions.
Any questions? Okay.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilor Hayes.
so townhomes only?
The interest is townhomes. They've expressed that maybe they would put a stripe of multifamily adjacent to the other multifamily property, but their interest is townhomes, and high density is the only zone currently in Stayton that allows townhomes.
I agree with you. I've seen the property. I know it very well, and I understand probably why they're wanting to annex it. Right next to it is already a huge apartment building complex that was built.
Right.
And not 100% sure what the plan for the corner is yet, but this particular parcel, has there been any questions from the property owner across from this property? And I'm not talking about the one that's plowed. I'm talking about the one with the pond and the house and what I believe is the adjacent farm.
Oh, you can't see any longer. Do you mean directly across the street, across Shaft?
Right across, yes.
No one from that property has contacted me, and my client hasn't indicated that they've contacted him. I do know that other townhome developers have approached him about purchasing the property once it's annexed. Was there something specific that I could answer about that?
Very different set of property than what we just talked about. So, and I understand the owners of that property are the ones that they're right next door, just across the ditch. So
yes,
okay. I'm guessing this is a piece that they're just not wanting to sell. So it's like, okay. So my curiosity was just right across from it. Like I said, we have some old property that's been commercial and been trying to sell, but it hasn't happened yet. That's plowed. I'm just curious if anything was heard by the other family in protest or for it or okay with it, or if specifically they had any questions as to what precisely was going to be built there. When you say their interest is townhomes, then my trust issues aren't that good, right? Because what could happen after?
Councilor Hayes, I think that's an appropriate question for staff. I'm not sure the applicant would have that information.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Carey.
The house directly across the street from Butler's is the Christensen's, and he does own the CrossFit gym, which is on a property of the Butlers. So I'm sure they've had that conversation as well.
Okay.
If I may,
Go
Mayor,
ahead.
The Butlers are not developers. The Butlers are in agriculture, and I feel like I'm saying that to their friends because I know they've lived in this community a long time. And I know they very much want to control what happens here. They are raising their family right next door to this property. And they've expressed to me that they would like this to be developed with townhomes. I don't envision them doing that themselves. I think that they'll partner with some other housing producer that does build townhomes. The reason that I'm sitting before you saying that that's their interest is because anything is liable to change. And I would never want to sit here and guarantee something that may change in the future. But I can tell you that the Butlers currently have control over this property and they want to see it developed to townhomes in a phased manner where maybe 20 would come on at a time. And then those would sell and then 20 more would come on. This is a legacy project that would be developed over many, many years for them.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate that insight, Whitney. Anybody else? All right. Thank you, Brittany.
Thank you.
Staff report, Jennifer.
Yes. Let's see. So just some answer to some of the questions that were mentioned. The property to the south is light industrial. I didn't get any feedback from, we notified all the abutters. The only person that provided negative feedback was the water control, because they're concerned about development on the Salem ditch behind that it abuts it. But there is a natural resource protection overlay that will be included as part of what if it comes into the city as an annexation and comes in with a zone like high density. It will also come in with 100 feet of natural resource protection. That's a kind of automatic overlay. The way our zoning code is written is that anything from the 50 feet of the high water mark of Salem ditch is in that area. So going back to the process, the Planning Commission heard it on February 23rd. And as I mentioned, DLCD also provided their comment again on that day. So we tabled it to April 27th. They had similar comments to say as the KSD, that high density, that we need to, our needs of the community, our housing needs are determined by the Oregon Housing Needs Analysis, which is, as I mentioned, 2003. We need to look at the region, the housing needs of the region and the underproduction and not just future growth, as we had previously done. That the designation of high density residential is consistent with the comprehensive plan that has residential signified for this area. I do want to say that what Brittany was saying about the townhomes is true. Townhomes that are attached single family homes are only allowed in the high density. So it's kind of like a little bit of a quirk in our zoning code. You have to go with the high density area. They have a similar criteria, obviously the same as KSD. There is also all master plans, the transportation plan, the wastewater plan, all have this parcel as being developed. So this is the infrastructure, it's capable of having that type of infrastructure. I also did say that it's compatible with the character of the neighborhood. It's just adjacent to other high density multifamily residents. It's next to commercial across the street is industrial, it makes sense that it would be high density in terms of the need of the neighborhood. So I'll leave it at that because I've said a lot, I think, in the previous application.
Okay, thank you. Jennifer, I have one question, and I want to get clarification on what I think you just said and what I thought I heard at the DLC D presentation. I think you just said housing needs are determined by the state. Is that what you said?
Yes, they are determined by a DAS, Department of
Administrative Services.
Yep.
They come out every year with a determination of need for each city, not the cities that are under 2,500, which there are very few. Like SIO is one of them, 840 people. But if you're 2,500 and more, you're in that list.
All right, and that's what I heard at their presentation. And that just, again, to reiterate, I think our comp plan was determined on the previous methodology, which was identified as population numbers from PSU, which we've never hit that target, not once. Okay. Questions from council?
Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Carey.
Again, I'm going to ask about the traffic analysis. Has there been one on that road? Not yet? Because the speed limit there is 55 miles an hour. And if we're going to build there, we got to make sure we're talking to the county or the state and we're lowering that speed limit or doing something.
Councilor Sims.
Mr. Mayor, Jennifer, I had a question about stormwater. Concerns me with this development being right on Salem Ditch, which feeds into Mill Creek, which we have salmon and steelhead runs in there. So, and we have a memorandum of understanding with Santiam Water Control District. So that's a concern as far as services for this. Is there are they discharging directly into Salem Ditch, or are there stormwater, or how is?
I don't know how their stormwater is happening now, but at development, that is when you're going to be looking at the stormwater, and we definitely want to align with our MOU. But transportation, all those things will be looked at development.
Is that with the site plan? Is that when we see that when?
Yes, at the site plan. And I want to say they didn't submit a concept plan where they did for the last application, and that's why they provided the transportation. At this one, they did not.
Okay. Anything else from council? Okay. Opportunity for public testimony. Okay. Questions from the council one more time. Okay, applicant summary.
I just want to start by thanking you guys for your time and attention to these cases. I know that it can be frustrating when, you're protecting the vision for your city. And I just want to say that both of these applicants that I'm representing live and work in your community, and they care. I think they care very much about this community too. As far as what Jennifer was saying, there is 100-foot setback along the ditch, and there's a huge grove of trees that we would like to preserve as well. So there will be a setback there. On-site stormwater infrastructure is going to be a requirement of DEQ at the time of development. I don't think you're going to see a site plan review on this application in the future, especially if it's townhomes. I think what you'll see is a phased subdivision where we would provide all of the infrastructure and civil engineering plans for review by AKS if they continue to be your civil engineer for the city. You'd see a site plan review for something like a multifamily development.
Like
Yeah.
a multi.
So this would be a phased subdivision. Like I said, it would happen over many years. With that, I can answer any other questions that may have come up.
Okay, thank you. Move on to staff summary.
as I provided, staff found that it meets the approval criteria for annexation, and the Planning Commission voted as well unanimously.
Okay. Thank you. Close the hearing, and we'll move on to council deliberation.
It. 351 is where the ordinance is, if that's what you're looking for.
What was that, Julia?
You said 350. 351.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Ort.
While I appreciate the vision of the people who own it currently, once it gets annexed, and we've seen this happen before with the property on Fern Ridge, it gets sold, and someone else might have a different vision for it. So, council, is there any thoughts on changing the zoning designation?
I think that's your answer, Councilor Ort.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Patty.
Yeah, just to engage with that directly, I feel like we've had this conversation before about previous applications where we wanted to do this, but ultimately the guidance from staff was that we can't apply a zoning that the applicant doesn't wish for. But I'm open to clarification from staff if I have that wrong.
I can let Julia say, but you want to be able to come up with some findings that say why you believe that it should be a different zone, and then we'd have to probably come back, meaning staff, to write up what your findings are. So you have to come up with a reason.
And just to add on to that, I guess I don't think that we've specifically said, I hope we haven't specifically said that you have to take whatever zoning the applicant proposes. The reality is that until we have a comp plan that better aligns with the current state law, it makes it very challenging to do things different than what the applicant is proposing. So
I could argue that the density for this property, that the justification for that, one of the reasons is that right in here is that we're going to have a roundabout at that intersection, and we know that's not going to go through. So what's going to happen with the traffic? It's already bad there. There's no getting around that. It's going to be awful to add on. So what are we? It's going to trip it. What are we going to do? No. There's no way. There's no way you're going to put 74 homes on Gulf Lane. That other property, you have this property with higher density. We'll say maybe not multifamily, and then you have the apartment complexes plus the other traffic going. That's like one of the main ways to get in and out of Stayton. I feel like that's a justification right there to change the zoning in my mind. In fact, I will make a motion. I would like to make a motion to approve ordinance 26-26-004, approving the application of Kevin and Paige Butler for annexation with the following amendments. to change the density to medium density.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second to approve the application as amended to change the density from high density to, did you say medium density? Medium density. Open for discussion.
Thank
Councilor
you.
Patty.
Yeah, so I feel like if I would like to hear what the findings would be that we would be able to defend in LUBA to make that decision before going to a vote. And if you have any idea on that, I'd love to hear about it right now.
I think we have a motion in a second. We can't.
It's still discussion.
There.
We're addressing that question too. So,
Oh, well, so I guess we can't. So then I understand your no vote on this.
so am I voting on the motion or we're not? Okay. None of you take a vote on the motion, please.
Sure. Counselor Carey,
Yes.
Counselor Sims,
No.
Counselor Patty,
No.
Counselor Ort,
Yes.
Counselor Hayes.
Yes.
Motion carries 3-2.
So, if I may, if the council is very interested in the motion is passed to change the ordinance from high density to medium density, I think we would have to try to find some findings and propose that. I would strongly recommend in that instance that you not vote on this tonight and you direct staff to come back with some findings based on direction that you're giving, and then we'll also want to consult with Ross, our city attorney, and we would advise on what how he feels about those findings.
I agree, Julia. I remember Ross counseling us on that very question when it came up. So, what would council? My recommendation is what Julia just recommended. Is council in agreement with that, or I have to remind you, if we do that, the record remains open.
So do we just need to continue deliberations to next meeting?
No, they voted on the amendment to the ordinance. Oh,
We only voted on the amendment.
oh, okay. So you have approved the ordinance with the amendment to medium density residential, but you haven't provided additional findings.
How do I provide additional findings?
That comes before.
I guess at this point, I would say you have adopted the ordinance as amended. We will have, it did not pass unanimously, so we will have to come back at the next meeting and we will advise you at that point on findings or not, and then you may need to modify the adopted ordinance a little bit further. Is that, Jennifer, am I tracking?
That sounds good. If I could clarify what the findings are, is the infrastructure issues for the roundabout and increased traffic. Is that
And the roundabout is non-existent. We're not doing the roundabout.
okay? I can look
So-
into it.
So
I don't know how we're going to handle the traffic on that road. That's what I want.
And I would say that that is something that we would address at the time of actual land use review, but that that's I think at this point, you've adopted what you've adopted. It's going to come back at the next meeting, and we will advise you with our city attorney's input at that point, as well as potential draft findings.
Right. There's going to be a second hearing again because it wasn't unanimous. So then it'll be addressed in totality, what we just talked about. All right. So one question, that leaves the record open still or no?
So unless, right now the record is closed. So honestly, I think you're going to have to reopen the record in order to reconsider findings.
Okay.
All
right. Okay. All right. That leaves us to the end of those agenda items. That leaves us to communication from city staff. Julia?
So I actually have a couple of things. I'm going to ask Barry to come up and...
Oh, hold on a second.
Sorry.
The council's action may be appealed within 21 days of the mailing of the notice of decision to the Land Use Board of Appeals under ORS 197.805 to 855. Thank you.
Thank you. We actually want council's input on something. We've mentioned for a while, as you may recall, we applied for the Safe Streets for All planning grant, and we completed a safety action plan as a result of that. That was sort of the precursor to us applying for a Safe Streets for All construction grant. And as I've mentioned, I'm good. As I've mentioned, we were planning on a package of $15 to $20 million worth of improvements. So what we are proposing to put forward, but we would like your input on our proposal, as well as we need some feedback on specific blocks. We're proposing to put in for basically all of Washington Street from Wilco to First Avenue. This would be a complete street improvement with sidewalks, curbs, gutters, and rebuild of the street. That estimate is about $12.5 million to do that full street improvement. And then what we're wanting to do is leverage the Safe Streets for All construction grant and try to do some very important and meaningful street reconstruction projects within the downtown area. And that's what the second part of your map is. It basically, Barry and the Public Works team estimates that we could do about a block for about 0.8 million, and that would be a full reconstruction. And really the focus is because it's removing sidewalk gaps and providing bicycle lanes by having that full road reconstructed. That's kind of the angle that we're going at. So we're looking at about 8 blocks total, and we would like your input on which 8 of these that we've selected you think we should include in the application. And that is actually due next week, so I'm really hoping to get your input tonight. Barry, do you want to talk a little bit about kind of the different components and why some things are on there in the ways that they're on there?
Right. Barry Buchanan, Interim Public Works Director, for the record. What we've got in front of you is a massive colours, which probably are somewhat confusing for a start off. So let me explain and reiterate a little bit about what Julia has just said. We need to choose 8 blocks for the project work that'll cost about $6 to $6.4 million, or build up a project, total project cost of about $6.4 million. As it shows, as I've shown here, we've got a number of different options. This is not a proposal in front of you. This is the options that show streets of worst condition downtown that we'd like you guys to help us choose which 8 of those blocks we're going to do. So if we look at the left-hand side of the page with orange and green associated with it, that is a school bus route, or is that's in actual fact the route that the school buses follow to get to and from the adjacent school. They don't use 3rd Street at all. They're in actual fact banned from driving on 3rd Street outside the school. So they use 4th Street, which is in really bad condition. Single lane traffic, buses have to give way to other buses. There is no sidewalks, there is no bike lanes. So that's why I put it on this map. The other colours are to help you understand what our infrastructure looks like underneath those roads. So if we look at Earlswood Road, right on the north left-hand side, it's green, which implies that we are pretty confident that the underground facilities in those roads are actually in relatively good condition. Doesn't mean we have to do nothing, it just means that they're in relatively good condition. Going to the extreme in the south west of the page, we've got red lines. And those red lines indicate that the infrastructure under the roads is in really poor condition, both in the water sense, wastewater sense, and stormwater capacity of the area. We would have to do a lot of infrastructure work before we did the road work. We're not excluding these roads from the choice that you make, but what we are saying is that we would have to do a lot of work underneath them before we actually do the work. So given that I think we have 13 blocks actually indicated here, we want to pick out 8 blocks from this. We'd like them to be a minimum of 3 blocks contiguous and potentially probably 2 projects out of this. We have indicated that one's a bus route and the other ones we'd like to use the influence of the access and connect to a park. I made it as clear as mud of what we're looking for.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Ort.
Barry, is one block is like just one of these little sections?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And we can do potentially 8 of them?
Yeah, we can do 8 little blocks. So if we look at the northwest side, we've got basically 4 blocks in that orange and green. If we look down at the red stuff, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We've got roughly 8, so it's too big, all of the red together. Okay, so we purposely didn't choose for you, but we have indicated what we believe are the worst streets in this downtown area. And as Julia said, we're intending to leverage the ability to fix the sidewalks and the bike paths so that we can in actual fact fix the total road under one construction activity.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Ort.
If I may, I love the idea of that whole stretch of 4th, those 3 blocks, like you said, for the bus. That's the bus route, right?
Yeah.
I love that. And then 6 has always been, those 3 blocks on 6 have always been, that's the area that floods. And then between 6th and 7th on East Virginia and East Burnett, those streets are basically gravel. They're riddled with potholes and gravel. I pass by them often to see if they need to be filled, honestly. So those would be my choices.
Anybody else, Council?
I'll also add that this, we hope that this is not a one shot. This is currently funded and I'm going to get the words wrong, but essentially if this is renewed, the funding is renewed, and it sounds like this is a very popular funding source, so the hope is that it will continue to get renewed. We will apply every year, so that's the hope. There's always a chance that the funding won't be renewed, but that's our hope.
And I'll stress that this is dare I use the word guesstimate on how much we can in actual fact do. So it's indicative amount as opposed to we'll exactly do this. but the streets would be the streets you choose.
Any other thoughts, council?
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead.
So Jordan, you said 4th Street and those 3 blocks there
Those 3 blocks.
and Elwood.
What's this? What did I just do?
I don't know.
Oh, it's
Go around.
Yeah, I like what you have, Jordan. That's our
And
councilor
then,
word.
yeah,
That looks great.
that's 6 right there. That,
So I'll reiterate and say Jordan is suggesting, well, Jordan and Councillor Sims are suggesting the school blocks here, these 4, 6th Street and Virginia Street.
And Burnett.
and Burnett.
Between
And Burnett,
6
oh,
and
well, that's
7.
9.
Between 6 and 7.
Did I count wrong?
2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
At least I can't.
That's
count.
8.
That's 8.
It's 8?
Yeah.
Okay, right
I
here.
counted twice.
Okay.
So what she's not proposing, Barry, and is the green part that you had for 4th. So that would be 9 if we included.
I'm not necessarily opposed to it. I just, if we could do those.
Can I come and look?
Yeah. I circled them. So that one we're talking about?
Yeah.
Oh,
We
you
also
thought
do
this.
this one as well.
Oh, so,
Because that would give this a full connection.
okay.
Yeah.
So then this one and then either one of those. Okay, fair enough.
So for people at home, and for the record, I'm going to have you repeat that. So for people at home and for the record, can we please have a clear understanding of what's being proposed?
So he wants to do Elwood Street and then 4th. So that L.
Okay.
or upside down L. And then the 3 blocks of 6th Street. And then, I mean, I think it'd be just a toss up.
Oh.
Maybe we.
I think Virginia is probably the worst, Jordan, so I'll go for
Yeah,
Virginia.
I mean, I would like to do the worst one. So that's the
Okay.
East Burnett one, I believe. Or that's the worst wet utility.
I mean, we have so many needs. I don't care where we start. So this is great for me. I'm not going to sit here
Well,
and
like that 6th Street, that's
100%.
the one that floods. So
100%.
I would love for that to be
Yep.
addressed.
I concur with Councilor Ort's suggestion.
Okay.
I concur as well, and I'm sure the bus barn does too.
I concur.
There you go.
Awesome, thank you. One last thing that I wanted to share with you. If you recall, several weeks ago, actually April 6th, Mr. Larry Larimer came to council and was speaking about ATV and noise and a noise violation, and we were going to follow up with him. The police did issue a citation to the ATV operator, but it was actually recently overruled, if you will, by our judge, who found that that was not a violation of the noise ordinance. So I wanted to just bring that to your attention that I thought it was addressed, but it sounds like it might come up again as the person who is operating I think it's an ATV or a motorcycle on their private property, starts using it again on nice days, that Mr. Larimer and his neighbors may be coming back to council asking for you to consider code amendments to basically prohibit ATVs on private property during certain hours or something like that. So I wanted to let you know about that, and if you wanted us to look into that before he comes and talks to us, I would appreciate that direction. Otherwise, we could.
I actually wrote myself a little note on that. Question: are they louder than lawnmowers and leaf blowers?
I don't believe so. I think
is
that's
that
the
the-
issue, is
okay.
that they don't exceed sort
Gotcha.
of, yeah, general noise that's allowed. But that doesn't mean that you can't have a specific carve out if that is something that you desire. That's all I had.
Okay. Opportunity for communication from council.
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Patty.
Yeah, Council, I'll be going to the school board on Thursday for liaison stuff. If anybody has anything they'd like presented or information forwarded on to the board, please get it to me over email or text or shoot me a call.
Anybody else?
Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Ort.
There was a accident recently on Fern Ridge and 3rd, which made me think about there was supposed to be like a crosswalk with a pedestrian crosswalk with a blinky light.
Sorry, you're talking about 3rd and Fern Ridge?
Yes.
Yes, that is in progress. Barry, do you want to give them an update on where that's at?
That project is currently in design at about, I would say, about 90%. So it's really close to being finalised design, and we'll go out for bid very soon.
Are we
That's
going to start it like this year?
Its construction will be this year as intended. Yeah.
Thank you. And then a follow-up to that. So on Fern Ridge, when you're coming into town, the speed limit is 45 right up until you get to almost the stoplight. And I actually, I tried to talk to Commissioner Willis about this a little bit to see what we could do to lower the speed limit on that street. Because even where Councilor Carey lives off of his road, it's still 45. It's 45 in front of the church. It's 45 basically in a residential, in quite a bit of the residential area. So I would like to see what we can possibly do to lower the speed limit farther down Fern Ridge.
We will have to talk to the county about that. But yeah, I will follow up for you.
Okay. I just know that you guys talk to the people a little bit more. So.
Sorry, second.
I said I just know that you guys talk to the people a little bit more. So if you could tell me who I need to talk to, I really like that.
Who do I talk to? I would generally talk to either the Public Works Director or the county engineer, and follow through with either one of those, asking them. But Michael Smith has a direct contact in the Transportation Department. I would get their name.
Cool.
Quite honestly, off the top of my head, who Michael talks to is gone.
Anybody else? I just want to acknowledge council and the ongoings of this whole annexation issue. This started in 2016 when the legislature took away our ability to refer annexations to the community. And it's incrementally changed over the years to be more and more pressure and more inability for us to look at the direction and the future of our city. It's very frustrating to sit here and have to continuously ask these questions to try to get the right answers when we know it's very ambiguous, when we know that there's zero to little things that we can do up here to say, no, you're not going to do that without consequences. There was no collaboration with cities by the state legislature when they did this over the years. We were left out of the process. It's frustrating for me to go to a neighborhood community meeting and sit there for 2 hours where I feel absolutely helpless, that I can't do anything to assuage their valid concerns. So I just want to acknowledge council and appreciate what you're doing and the continuous questioning. The methodology's changed. As you heard me ask the question of staff, who determines the housing needs of our community? And it's set by DAS and it's set by the state. I'm frustrated just as much as you all are. And I don't know what the right answer is. So, my appreciation.